Welcome to the Restricted Handling Daily Intel Briefs. What's coming up next week in the World podcast? We're looking at Sunday through Saturday, July 5th through July 11th, 2026. And it's a packed week where diplomacy, defense, and financial signals all hit at once. Starting Sunday, July 5th, 2026, China's Foreign Minister Wang Yi continues a multi-country Nordic tour running through Wednesday, July 8th. He's moving through Denmark, Sweden, Finland, and Norway. And while the public framing stays diplomatic and polished, the backdrop is anything but soft. Europe and China are still trying to figure out how to talk to each other when trade friction, export controls, and Russia-related security concerns are all sitting in the room at the same time. Think of it like a carefully staged dinner where everyone is smiling, but nobody is touching the same topic twice. On Monday, July 6th, Syria opens the first session of its new transitional parliament in Damascus. This is one of those moments that is more institutional than dramatic on the surface, but it still marks a formal step in a political system that is actively being rebuilt. Symbolic, procedural, and closely watched for how authority is actually distributed in practice. Then Tuesday, July 7th, 2026, is where things start stacking fast. In Ankara, NATO kicks off its Defense Industry Forum, running alongside the broader NATO summit preparations. This is the industrial backbone piece of the alliance meeting. Less speeches, more contracts, procurement pipelines, and production capacity. The conversation here is simple. What gets built, how fast, and who is actually paying for it? On Tuesday, NATO leaders formally gather in Ankara for the start of the summit itself, which runs through Wednesday, July 8th. This is the headline security event of the week. The focus is firmly on defense spending commitments, industrial output, and sustained support for Ukraine. The tone is very 21st century alliance politics. Part strategic alignment, part industrial race, part accountability check. Also on Tuesday, Iran enters a key ceremonial phase in calm with funeral-related proceedings for its late supreme leader. These events stretch across several days and are tightly managed. By design, they are both mourning and messaging, visible displays of state continuity, elite alignment, and controlled political transition at a moment when optics matter almost as much as outcomes. By Wednesday, July 8th, the center of gravity widens. The IMF releases its World Economic Outlook update. This is the global macro checkpoint. Growth projections, risk adjustments, and the economic fallout of ongoing geopolitical fragmentation. It's the kind of document that quietly resets how finance ministries and central banks interpret everything else happening that week. Also on Wednesday, the Federal Reserve releases the minutes from its June FOMC meeting. This is where markets try to read between the lines on inflation, liquidity, and how policymakers are weighing global instability against domestic economic pressure. Not flashy, but extremely influential. China's CPI and PPI data also drop Wednesday night into Thursday in Beijing terms. That's the hard read on domestic demand and industrial pricing pressure. Whether it signals stabilization or continued drag will feed directly into policy expectations going forward. Meanwhile, NATO's summit continues into Wednesday, wrapping its core meetings. By this point, the real story is less about declarations and more about what concrete commitments actually materialize. On Thursday, July 9th, Iran's state funeral sequence reaches its burial phase in Mashhad. This is the culmination of the ceremonial period and typically where messaging tightens even further around unity and institutional control. Also on Thursday, the European Central Bank releases its monetary policy accounts, offering a detailed look at internal debate across inflation, growth, and geopolitical risk exposure. The same day, Eurogroup finance ministers meet in Brussels, keeping Eurozone fiscal coordination in focus, while defense and Ukraine-related spending pressures continue to shape budgets. Then Friday, July 10th, ECOFIN meets, bringing EU economic and finance ministers together. This is where sanctions architecture, Ukraine financing, and broader fiscal resilience discussions tend to converge in more formal coordination. Across Russia, the Bank of Russia's scheduled releases span midweek, July 8th through July 9th, offering another structured window into liquidity conditions, financial stability, and how domestic systems are absorbing wartime and sanctions pressure. By Saturday, July 11th, the week cools on paper, but the aftershocks of NATO decisions, IMF revisions, and China's data releases are still working their way through markets and policy channels. And if you step back, the pattern is hard to miss. NATO is focused on production and deterrence capacity. Europe is managing fiscal strain under security pressure. China is calibrating its external messaging, while domestic data reveals internal momentum questions. Iran is in a tightly controlled transition moment, and the global financial system is recalibrating risk in real time. Thanks for listening and for being part of this community. If you want to support the show, leaving a review or a thoughtful comment helps others discover it. We also share a daily written intel brief on Substack, restrictedhandling.substack.com, where we go deeper on Russia and China, along with broader coverage of Iran, the Middle East, and the DPRK. Wishing you a great week ahead.
Some days call for some oomph to amplify your everyday look. Like when you want the look of false lashes without the extra effort. Reach for Thrive Cosmetics Liquid Lash Volumizer Mascara. Or when you want all eyes on your smile, keep Empower Gloss Ultra Glossy Lip Serum in your bag. It's a burst of 24-hour hydration that smooths like a serum, shines like a gloss, and can be worn sheer or layered. You'll also look and feel your best with Thrive Cosmetics. Plus, every product is 100% vegan, cruelty-free, and made with clean, skin-loving ingredients that work with your skin, not against it. And for every product purchased, Thrive Cosmetics donates to help communities thrive. So every time you use your favorite Thrive Cosmetics product, you're helping communities you care about too. Amplify your everyday. Go to thrivecosmetics.com/shine26 for an exclusive offer of 20% off your first order. That's Thrive Cosmetics, CAUSEMETICS.com/shine26.